Welcome to this evening's meeting, in which we will be discussing the topic of NIDS. And we would like to introduce Mr. Richard Della Pena, who is the PR and Marketing Manager of the NIDS program in the Office of the Prime Minister. Welcome, Mr. Della Pena. In true Liberty fashion, we would like to open this evening's meeting with a prayer. So can we just commit this time to the Lord? Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for the information that you're bringing to our knowledge today, Lord, and we pray that you would guide the proceedings of today, Lord. We commit this time to you, and we invite all those who still have to join to do so, Lord, so that they too may be privy to this information. I'd like, in Jesus' name, amen. I'd also like to recognize Mrs. Garrick, principal of our high school, who is with us as well at this time.
Thank you, Auntie Susie.
And Miss Jody K. Kelly, our counselor, and Mrs. Diane Daly McClure, the president of our high school. I wish I knew all the other names, but I don't. So welcome all. And over to you, Mr. Della Pena.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, and good afternoon, everyone. I hope you guys would have had a wonderful day, and we look forward to a wonderful session as we talk to you about the National Identification System, NIDS. I'm hoping that you're seeing my screen.
Yes, we are.
However, I think you're seeing you're seeing the presentation view now.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so NIDS. How many of us have heard about NIDS? Just a show of hands. I am sure that maybe the entire room would have heard about this National Identification System. I see Miss Williams and Miss Garrett, they have up their hands. But NIDS, what is NIDS? You know, and that is what we're going to be looking at tonight or this evening as we go through the presentation. And so before I even go any further, I just want to thank you very much for accepting the invitation, for us to be a part of this presentation today, to talk to you about this NIDS. What is NIDS? And we're going to be looking at the history of this NIDS, and then we're going to go into some more detail as to the ID card itself, and what are some of the benefits that the citizen could or will get from this National Identification System. So what is NIDS? Now, NIDS, of course, the words is an acronym, and it stands for National Identification System, right? National Identification System. It's an information system that is used as an identity verification tool to say that the person is, or to verify that the person is who they really say they are. So identification systems are not new. You have voter identification systems, you have driver's license identification systems, you have school identification system, you have various types of identification system. And a system comprises of various elements. It comprises of the tools, it comprises of the people, it comprises of the policy, the procedures, everything come together to work in unison to make one entire system. Now, central to this national identification system, right, is the use of a national ID card, right? And hence why we have National Identification System. Now, it is built on the use of unique features of the individual And that unique feature is what we refer to as biometrics. Makes it more accurate in when you're verifying someone's identity. And so when we talk about biometrics, a lot of persons get edgy and they get very nervous. But biometrics is simple. It is your fingerprints, your facial image, and even how you sign your name. That is also considered a biometric. So we're going to be looking some more in detail as to what this NIDS is all about. So essentially, it's an ID that is used to verify who you say you are. That is what NIDS is all about. And we've been talking about it for a number of years. In fact, it goes all the way back to the 1970s, where the discussions started with the government, where they wanted to have a national ID card for citizens and residents of Jamaica. Now, eventually it was moved, or a project was started in the Ministry of Health. Then it was moved to the Office of the Prime Minister in 2011, and it has been at the Office of the Prime Minister since. Now, in 2017, that was where a lot of persons started to hear about this NIDS. And they started to hear a lot of misinformation that NIDS is going to be a chip that is going to be inserted in you, and that NIDS is going to take your blood. And everybody started to get nervous as to what this NIDS is all about. And so a lot of misinformation started to circulate. And so you had a lot of groups that were not in support of the NIDS based upon the misinformation that they heard. Now, in 2017, there was an act that was passed in Parliament, and this act stated, or in summary, made provisions for a mandatory or a compulsory national identification system. Eventually, elements of that act were challenged in the courts, in the Supreme Courts. And, you know, in 2019, the courts ruled that the act, that those elements of the act, you know, the entire act should be null and void and of no legal effect. So what did the government do? The government went back to the drawing board, looked at the ruling that was handed down by the Supreme Court, and a new policy was drafted or created in compliance with the ruling of the court. And so the new policy of the government was a voluntary national identification system. So the new NIDS, as we now know it, is a voluntary ID system. So if you want to be a part of it, you can. If you don't want to be a part of it, nobody will force you to be a part of it. All right. And so that is the history of this national ID system. So why is it that the government wants to implement a new ID in Jamaica? Well, simply put, when you look at the data that was gathered by a number of agencies across government, you can see that there has been some level of increase as it relates to identity theft and some identity fraud across, you know, the various identity documents that we use. So for example, PICA, they would have, you know, over the last couple of years between 2009 to 2019, they would have, you know, seen where there were a number of cases, 2,499 passport fraud cases detected over that 10-year window. And that was just for PICA, that's Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency. When you look at the Ministry of National Security, they have seen 417 cases involving identity theft between 2008 and 2019. All right. When you look at RGD, now RGD does our birth records and our marriage records and manage our civil registry of our country. They would have noted that there were 1,072 cases of forged birth certificates that they detected between 2010 and 2018. Now, that is significant. That is significant. And these are the cases that were detected. It could way be more than what we know about. And you can see in recent reports, just on your, just about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I was watching the news. There was somebody, their identity was stolen, their NHT benefits. They wanted to take out the NHT loan. When they went to the NHT to take out the loan, they're telling them that somebody already would have taken out the loan under their identity, using their own documents and even birth certificate. So these are real scenarios happening in our country today, and it is creating havoc for the citizen, and it also is creating some problems for the government, because the government on a number of occasions have to be paying out monies to persons, some of them even deceased. You would have heard about NIS duplicate numbers. You'd have heard about persons unable to move freely within ZOZOs because they don't have any form of ID to verify who they are. You'd have heard about the CARE program that the government would have rolled out, and how many millions of dollars were uncollected because persons were unable to verify or show some form of document to establish their identity. And so it makes it difficult for a number of citizens. And why is that difficult? So when you look at the established documents that we have in our country today, we have a passport. The passport was designed for traveling. So these are our what we call functional identity documents. The passport was designed for traveling. It comes at also at a high cost. We have the TRN. The TRN was designed for tax-related purposes. All right, does not have any form of unique biometrics. It doesn't have a face on the ID card. It's just a random 9-digit number and the person's name on it. The voter ID card. Now this one, a lot of persons refer to as a national ID card. They call the voter ID card the national voters ID or the national ID card. But we do not have a national ID card. What we have is what we call an elector registration card or a voter ID. We do not have a national ID card. This EOJ card, as we know it, you have to be 18 years and older to be, eligible for a voter's ID card, albeit it is also free. But there's an age, issue for a number of persons. So if there are persons under the age of 18, they're unable, they don't qualify, right, for, to apply for a voter's ID card. School IDs. I am sure you all would have known what school IDs are. The problem with school IDs, one, they're for the students, and two, they're not readily acceptable right across the island. So maybe only the school or the institution will recognize that school ID as a legitimate document. Driver's license, it is for persons who want a permit to drive, and it comes at a cost, and it is also for persons 18 years and above. So the challenge that we find, one, there's a cost challenge or a cost factor, right? A number of Jamaicans have or find it difficult to afford one or more than one of these ID cards. So it comes at a cost, or identity documents comes at a cost. Two, some of them may require some form of skill. So driving, for example, you have to learn how to drive, right? So some persons will have to go to a driving school, they get driving lessons, and all because they just want a form of document to verify who they really say they are. So if there are persons who are unable to drive, they may have some form of disability. They are, automatically at a disadvantage by not being able to have a driver's license. Your voter's ID, under the law, there are there's a section within the law that refers to persons who have some form of mental challenge, and it makes it difficult for persons who fall within that category to get a voter's ID card. So it makes it difficult for citizens in a number of areas to get one of these functional identity documents. So what the government wants to do is to, one, create an ID card that is for everyone, regardless of your age. So even children would be able to get an ID card. And two, an ID card that is free. So you can enroll into the system without thinking about how much it is going to cost you, the citizen, when you enroll to get your ID card. All right. And three, you want an ID card that is very robust and secure, that when you show that ID card to anyone, whether it is an institution or whether it is to a person you're doing business with, that the person can, without a doubt, look at the ID card or have some form of verification method to say that this person is who they really say they are. Right? So this brings us to the creation of this national ID system, NIDS. So we want a system that is free, that is for everyone, and it is also secure. So this NIDS is going to be from birth. Remember, it's voluntary. So, persons or children or, minors who will want to be a part of this system, of course, the parents or the guardian would have to enroll them within the national identification system. It will be free, right? So there's no cost to enroll in the national identification system, right? So when you compare it to getting a driver's license comes at a cost, the passport comes at a cost. This national ID, which is going to be our first national ID in Jamaica, will be free to the citizens when they enroll, using minimum biometrics. Now, when we looked at the ID cards previously, a number of them do not have any form of biometrics or limited biometrics. So, for example, the TRN has no biometric. It doesn't have a face. It's not linked to your fingerprint. And it makes it difficult for persons, or, it makes it easier, I should say, for, the possibilities of it to be replicated, all right? Now, when you have an ID system that is based on the uniqueness of each person using their fingerprints or their facial image, it makes it difficult for that person's identity to be stolen, and thereby protects the person's identity even greater. Remember, we would have said enrollment into this system is voluntary, all right? And so if you want to be a part of it, you can be a part of it. You will be assigned a number within this system. Now, this number, when we were going through the consultation and was going through the parliament in the deliberations, it was decided that this number would be the same number as your TRN number. So if you have a TRN number already and you choose in the future to be a part of this NIDS, when you go to enroll, your TRN number will also be your national ID number. So instead of giving you a brand new number, your TRN number will be that national ID number. You will be issued a card under this NIDS, all right? And that card, we will look at it in a few slides from now. But importantly, this system will be governed by an authority that will manage the day-to-day functions and the issuance of an ID card, but they will also have an oversight body to ensure that the authority is abiding by the laws that are set out in, one, the Data Protection Act, and two, the National Identification and Registration Act of 2021. All right. Now, biometrics, as we would have said, is one of the most unique ways of identifying an individual. right? Nobody in the entire world has my fingerprints. And so thereby it makes it easier when you can link someone's fingerprint to their face and their profile. It makes it easier and more robust in terms of verifying the person's identity almost accurately. All right. Now, we spoke about the formation of an authority that will manage these NIDS, and this authority will be referred to as the National Identification and Registration Authority. Within this authority, you will have an office that will manage the NIDS, but then you are going to have an office of the Registrar General's Department. So for example, we know of RGD. No, RGD is a standalone department of government. When this authority comes along, RGD will will become an office within this authority, right? So the authority basically will manage the NIDS, and they will manage the civil registry of our country. Now, the oversight body, of course, as I said, would manage the compliance of to ensure that the authority is in compliance with the Act and the various regulations as set out under the law. So who is it that can enroll in this NIDS? Now, if you're a citizen of Jamaica, you can enroll, right? Individuals, ordinarily residents in Jamaica, can enroll. So what does that mean? If you're living in Jamaica 6 months and over, you're eligible to enroll in this. Can persons living in the diaspora enroll? If they're Jamaicans living in the diaspora and they come home and they want to enroll, yes. Persons living in the diaspora, Jamaicans, can enroll. Remember, enrollment is free, so there is no cost to enrolling in the national ID system. The national ID number, as we would have said, it's going to be a 9-digit random number, and it will be the same as your TRN number when you go to enroll. So the important thing here now, what type of information will be collected? And I think this is where a lot of persons may or would have had some challenge before, or would have heard a number of misinformation as to what would be collected. So we group them up, and this is what we refer to as biographic information. This is information about you, your name. We need your name, date of birth, country of birth, place of birth, your mother and father's name, whether the person is male or female, and this is as recorded on the person's birth certificate. All right, place of residence where applicable, and other places of residence where applicable. Now, this information, if you look at this information is not new at all. In fact, most of this information we give to a lot of the existing systems in government right now. Even within school, you're enrolling for a school, or you're enrolling for some form of raffle or something like that. Some of this information you also give. So it's not new. All right. Other information that we will collect, the nationality of the individual, the period of residence in Jamaica if the person is a resident, marital status, person is married, single, divorced, name of spouse if applicable, and your occupation. All right. The biometric now, so that was the biographic information that we just looked at. The biometric information here now is your facial image. Every ID must have a face. We need a face. Your fingerprints will be, collected. Manual signature would be collected also. And that is if the person is 18 years and above, of course. If the person is a minor, the guardian will sign on their behalf. So these are the 3 minimum biometrics that will be collected on the national ID system. All right. Other information where applicable, your birth entry number, your driver's license number, And all of this is where applicable, right? Your passport number, your national ID number, your path number, and your electoral registration number. So essentially what the ID seems to or seeks to do is to bring all of your existing IDs into one, right? That is what it seeks to do, right? And that is why we have the tagline, one ID, many opportunities. And so I'm going to just play a little video now so you can see how is it that you could enroll in the NIDS when it comes on stream.
It's easy as 1, 2, 3. In order to enroll into the NIDS, an applicant must be a citizen of Jamaica and appointed as a citizen for 6 months and above. Persons must submit documents such as birth certificate, proof of address, or marriage certificate. Step 1. Applicants will be able to pre-enroll online or visit the nearest enrollment center. Step 2. Applicants' biometric data and supporting documents are collected at an enrollment site. A reference number will be given for the applicant to track the application online. Step 3. Once the verification is done, a notification will be sent to the applicant to collect, pin, and activate their national identification card. The process is now completed, and your ID card can now be used to verify your identity.
All right, so that's just a short video as to how you will be able to enroll in the national ID system when it comes on stream. And when you get your ID card, I'm sure persons are going to wonder how or what the card will look like. And you can see on the screen, this is what the card will look like. Of course, when you see it in even, in person, it's even more beautiful than, than what you're seeing on screen now. But this is the front of the ID card, right? And, it will have your national ID number, your name, your nationality, your date of birth, and a signature. Now, the ID card itself is made of a polycarbonate material, right? It's a secure material. The information that you're seeing on the screen, it will be engraved in the ID card itself. That's a secure way of, securing the information. So nobody could rub out your name and put another person's name because it would be engraved in the ID card. There will be hidden features within the ID card itself. So if you, for example, put the ID card under UV light, you will see some of the elements popping up. And those elements are to ensure that the ID card is a legitimate ID card, okay? So just like how you may have a $100 bill, when you hold it up to the light, you see a hidden feature within the dollar itself. There will be similar, features or patterns that will be utilized on the card itself. When you use particular UV light, it will show up and you will know if the card is a legitimate card or not. So that's a security feature of this national ID card. So on the front of it, your national ID number, the name of the authority, your name, your date of birth, facial image, and a manual signature, and the nationality of the individual. You will notice that we don't have your address on the front of the card. 1, privacy, and 2, there are persons who move very often, all right? And because they move so often, they would have to change or update their ID card, as they move. And so it would be a major challenge for somebody who lives at 12 Washington Boulevard this week. They get their ID this month, and by the next month or 2 months down the road, they're moved and gone to Dunrobin Avenue. And so you find that now they would have to update their ID card because it would be printed on the front of the card. So in order to save the hassle of having to print every time you change your location or your address, it was decided not to put the person's address on the front of the card. But within the system, the address will be collected. On the back of the card itself now, the place or parish of enrollment, the date the card was issued, the date it expires. Now, the card will expire if you are below the age of 18 as a minor, right? Every 5 years, you will have to renew that card. If you're an adult, you will renew the card every 10 years. So an adult in this case, once you're above 18 and above, you're an adult. And so the card will be renewed every 10 years. Below the age of 18, once you enroll in the NIDS, you will have to renew the card every 5 years. All right. Whether the person is a male or female, so the sex will be on the back of the card, place or parish of enrollment, right? The card type, whether the card type here is for a resident or a citizen or a justice of the peace. So a justice of the peace, if you're a JP, it will be an indicator will be on the back of the card saying that you're a JP, okay? If you also have a disability, right, and you want that disability, to be noted on the back of the card, a symbol will be placed on the back of the card, the wheelchair symbol will be placed on the back of the card, indicating that you have some form of disability. So these are the elements that will be on the card, the back of the card itself, all right? So renewal, as I said, 5 years if you're below 18, above 18, every 10 years. So what is it that I will be able to do with my ID card when I get my ID card? One, I will be able to show my ID card to, let's say, a bank. That bank will collect my ID. They will ask me for permission if they can verify my identity with the authority. I remember we established the authority here as National Identification and Registration Authority. I will give them consent to verify my information. They will then verify my information with the authority, and the authority will send back a match or a mismatch response to the identity verification request. During that entire process, at the end of that entire process, I will be notified, right, that my identity was verified, right? And it will tell you who would have, verified my identity, or which entity would have verified my identity. All right, so two things here that we need to take away. Very important. One, you must give consent. You must give permission for your identity to be verified. And this is embedded under the practice of the Data Protection Act. All right, consent and ownership of data. You, the individual, own the data and the information. And lastly here, another important element is that you will be notified once your identity has been verified, all right? And the law sets out, the law and the regulations will set out all of how the person can be notified. So what are the benefits of this NIDS? What are the benefits? One, the first benefit is a free ID for individuals. All right, so as it is, you would have had persons unable to get a passport, unable to get a driver's license because of cost. That's a first benefit for the citizen, free. Second benefit, it protects and secures your identity, right? Because it's linked to your biometric. Yeah, it makes it more of a robust system, and as such it protects and secures your identity. Transparency in identity verification, it gives you more control over your identity information. So for the first time in Jamaica, you will have to give permission for your identity to be verified, and you will know once your identity has been verified. Another benefit, and this is a major benefit. It's time consuming. It can be, redundant. You have to walk around with multiple IDs and multiple identity documents just to verify who you are. With this ID, it is one ID. So it eliminates the need for you or multiple forms of identity. So it eliminates that need for you to be walking around constantly with the need or those identity documents when you're conducting business. And under the law actually, makes it easier for the citizen by once you have this ID card, the NIDS ID card, under the law, you need no other ID to verify that you are who you say you are. So for example, you go to the bank wants multiple IDs when you're opening a bank account. All right. With this NIDS, the one ID is sufficient when opening and conducting business, and that is embedded in the law. All right. That's a major benefit right there. Another benefit, it simplifies a number of bureaucracy, right? So it reduces the need for us to have JPs to verify a person's identity, right? Easier access to benefits. It eliminates the need for life certificates for pensioners. Now, this is a major benefit for pensioners. You have persons every quarter, they have to sign life certificates. They have to find a justice of the peace, they have to drive, go and find the JP, and the JP will, certify the life certificate. With the NIDS, once you have the NIDS and you enroll in the NIDS, it eliminates the need for you to have a life certificate. So the need to be doing that every quarter is no longer there. So that's a major benefit for the citizen or pensioners. Another major benefit, you'll be able to use your digital signature. So once you enroll in the NIDS, you'll get your ID card, but you will also get a digital signature. So what that means is that you will be able to sign your documents electronically. So if you're a person who uses, e-documents a lot, whether it's our contracts and you have to sign contracts, you will be able to sign documents electronically using your ID cards. That's another major benefit there for the citizen. Major benefit here again, financial services, right? When opening a bank account, makes it easier when opening a bank account. As it is right now, because persons are unable to get one ID, more or less two IDs, a lot of persons are unbanked. Now with this one ID, it makes it easier to open up a bank account with the financial institution of your choice. You will now be able to do e-commerce, more e-commerce, and conduct, your transaction in a more secure online, digital way. The e-government or e-governance, it will support the government's thrust to move the country into, more online access. So for example, the government will now be able to, bring more services, digital services to the citizens through the use of their web portals. And you will be able to now utilize your national ID card to verify your identity in the digital world and conduct those transactions. So tax administration, for example, will now be able to do more. For example, maybe licensing your vehicle online. These are some of the ideas that are being taught, thrown around, for, more benefits, digital benefits or access to these digital systems or digital activities once the NIDS comes on stream. So where are we now with this national ID system? Where are we now? We are at the point of our technical pilot. So we would have launched in December of last year, our technical pilot for the project. Now, a pilot is basically a system dry run, or if that's a layman term, your trial. You're trying out the system. And so during that period, you will, test the strengths and the weaknesses of the system and see where you need to make improvements within the system so that once you go nationally, there will be minimum to zero issues when enrolling the citizen. And so the first enrollment center was opened by the Prime Minister in December. And that first enrollment center is in Kingston at the Central Sorting Office, Jamaica Post on South Camp Road. And also the Prime Minister would have unveiled or opened the Card Personalization Center. Now, this is where the cards will be personalized and your name will be, personalized on each card before it's distributed to the individual. This is where the Prime Minister was getting his, enrolling for his card. He was able to be the first person to enroll under the pilot program. And, he would have taken his photograph, given his signature, and any other biometrics that would have been required. And, he would have done his tour of the facility. And at the end of the process, he would have received his national ID card, right? So the Prime Minister is one of the first to receive his national ID card under the pilot project of the NIDS, right? And this is the Prime Minister just looking at some of the security features, holding up the ID card under the UV light, just to see some of the security features of his new ID card. So in conclusion, the NIDS is expected to improve efficiency. It will bring across greater levels of transparency. It will support and improve business processes and service delivery. It will ensure a more fair and equitable administration of social benefits. You would have seen where a number of persons were unable to collect their COVID care benefits because they don't have any form of identity document to verify who they really say they are. So with the rollout of a national identification system, such as the NIDS, there are numerous benefits to be derived. And, I would have hoped that from this presentation tonight, that you would have gotten a greater level of understanding of what this system is all about. And, it would have dispelled some of the misinformation that some persons probably would have had about the national identification system. And I hope that at the end of this presentation or at the end of this session, we have persons that are comfortable now to move forward, who would want to be a part of the system, and also who would also want to advocate for others to be a part of the system, because there are a number of benefits that can be derived as a nation and as a country if we have a secure identity system such as this. And, I just want to close by giving another story about a young man. He is, he has a twin brother. The brother stole his ID card, was driving on the ID card, it's a driver's license, racking up thousands of tickets or hundreds of tickets on the ID card. When the other brother was driving now, police stop him, pull him over, they run his driver's license, and they saw the outstanding tickets. He never knew anything about the tickets, right? Because it was his brother who would have been driving on his ticket and on his ID card. So long and short of it, his identity was stolen by his twin brother, right? And so identity theft is something in Jamaica that has been on the rise. It's not something that we talk about a lot in Jamaica, but it exists. And there are a lot of persons who are displaced once their identity has been stolen. And so as a result of that, the government has to respond by putting in new systems or amend existing and putting in new systems to ensure that your identity, my identity, remains safe at all times. So at this time, I'm just going to open the floor and hand over back to the moderator. And if there are any questions, we could just run them through the moderator and she will just take them from there. So thanks again for having me, and I really enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Della Penna. Well, let's open the floor now to anybody who may have some questions for Mr. Della Penna. Parents online, do you have any concerns, any queries that you would like to present?
Afternoon, Mr. Della Penna.
Afternoon, Miss Rebecca. You're muted. We're not hearing you.
Sorry, you hearing me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, for the NIDS ID, would your TRN number and NIS number be attached to it at all?
Yes, yes. So your TRN number, once you enroll in the NIDS, will be your national ID number, right? And your national insurance number will also be a number that once you enroll, you go with your number, it will be a number that you can link to your ID card. Yes.
Okay, thanks for that clarity.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Question. I heard Mr. What's his
Della
name?
Penna.
Mr. Delapilla said that persons who are under the age of 18 can enroll. Does that mean like a 6-year-old child can enroll also?
A what? A 6-year-old?
Yes.
Yes. So NIDS is from birth. NIDS is from birth.
Okay.
So if the parent or guardian wishes to enroll the child,
Okay.
in the program, they will be able to do so. Yes.
Okay, another question. You also mentioned that the number will be their TRN number for children who doesn't have a TRN as yet. Will it be a requirement for them to apply for a TRN first and then enroll for the NIDS?
Oh no. So when they go to enroll, once you don't have a TRN number, once you go to enroll, they will generate a national ID number for you.
Okay,
right?
okay.
But it's not going to be called a TRN number.
Oh, okay.
All right, it's
Okay.
called a national ID number. But if you already have a TRN number, instead of issuing you a new number, that TRN number that you already have will be used as your national ID number.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I see a question here, a very, very good question. Good evening. I joined a bit late. Can the NIDS be used as a passport to travel? Very good question. No, remember, NIDS is a national ID. It's a national ID, and it was created, or designed to be utilized, within our country. However, the ID card is based upon international travel standard documentation, or ISO standards. So what that means is that the same standards that are used to, create or, make your passport, right, is the same standards that the ID card will be used. So if in the future, the government wants to say you can travel to Barbados within CARICOM, or you want to travel to Barbados on your national ID card, I'm sure that, between the two nations that they could arrange for that to happen. But as it is right now, the card is a national ID card. It's not a travel document. All right. So the passport will be still required to travel. I hope that kind of cleared it up.
Camille Mitchell, given that children under 18 cannot get an NIS number currently, how would that work?
Okay, so remember the NIS under the NIDS is where applicable. It's not a mandatory field that you have to give when you enroll in the NIDS. All right. So if the person doesn't have an NIS, that's fine. If the person doesn't have a driver's license, that's fine. If they don't have a passport, that's fine. Those are for persons who have it. It's where applicable. All right. So the most important thing to enroll in the NIDS is having a birth certificate. Right. So if you have your birth certificate, that's the breeder document that is needed to enroll in the NIDS.
Says thank you.
All right, you're welcome, Camille.
My question goes even a little further, Mr. Delapin, because there was that parent that asked about the will it can it be used as a instead of a passport? I'm just wondering if in the future our NIDS card can be used for, well, if it will be integrated into our driver's license, our passport, NIS, everything, if just having the one card will be enough in the future?
Well, the ID card, on the back of the ID card, there will be a section for, drivers. So if you have a driver's license, on the back of it, it will also indicate that you are a driver. So it will prove that you are able to drive.
Mhm.
All right. So at some point, I figure as much that the government, as the system, persons get more comfortable with the use of the national ID, that they will start to utilize it more and more. And you will find that once you get comfortable utilizing it, maybe you don't want to have any other form of ID other than the NIDS.
Mhm. Any other questions? Mrs. Garrick, are you still there? Oh.
All right. Well, it seems like we would have answered most of the questions. I don't see anybody's hand up.
No, I'm not seeing anything else.
So I figure as much that the burning issues would have been answered throughout the presentation.
Well, I would like to thank you very much for the presentation, Mr. Delapin. It was very clear and very informative. And we really appreciate you taking the time to share this information with us. I believe that this is being recorded, so we can have it to play to other parents, other groups
Yes.
at school, so that they can be clear on the information as well.
Yes. And closer to the national rollout,
Yes.
we can be back just to give another update as to where some of the enrollment centers will be. We are looking to have at least 24 enrollment centers right across the island.
Mhm.
In Kingston and St. Andrew, we will have at least 5, right? And what we're doing, we're partnering with the post offices.
Mhm.
So we're, doing a number of facelift activities at these post offices. So if you go to some of the post offices in Kingston, you will see some work going on. And that's because they're doing some retrofitting to ensure
Okay.
that, the NIDS will be able to become an enrollment point at that, So we will have 5. We will have one at the CSO, which is on South Camp Road. We want to have one in Halfway Tree. We're going to have one in Ligony. I'm going to have one at UA Post Mall and also one on Constant Spring Road. All right.
Okay. Something else just crossed my mind. You had said there was a pre-enrollment process which
Yes.
could be done online.
Yes.
Is it possible to submit your documents online in that process if you scan them?
Well,
They have to be presented physically.
right, we would want to have all of those presented physically because
Okay.
there would have to be some level of verification of the
Okay.
documents. So pretty much what we would do is to The online part of it is really to give you an appointment date.
Oh, I see.
All
Okay.
right. So you will give basic information like your name and your address and basic information like that. But when you go now to the enrollment center on the day, you walk with your documents, you'll give your fingerprints, you take your photograph, you give your manual signature, and
Okay.
then you will be notified once the card is ready to come and pick up. And we are striving for minimum days to be a turnaround for you to get your ID card. There are some ID cards where you have to wait months, right? Some even waiting a year just to get their ID card. No, we're going to be we're breaking it down to days. In fact, there is the possibility of having same day service.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh, it's free. I was just gonna say maybe you have to pay an express fee, but you said
No,
it's
it's
free.
free. Yeah.
Okay.
But it will vary. It will vary according to citizens' needs. So for
Yeah.
example, you may have someone coming in without any birth certificate. That person will their process probably will take a longer time than somebody who comes in with all of their documents and their information is easier to verify. And so that would be a shorter period.
Okay. And of course, babies, for newborn babies, that is the shortest.
Well, all right. So for the newborns now, they will get so the minors will get their first ID card at about, so they'll enroll in the system, but they won't be able to get their first ID card. I believe it's at age 5, thereabout.
Oh,
That's when they get the card itself, the physical card.
yeah.
But they will still be registered within the system.
Okay. Interesting. I guess I changed so much in the first 5 years.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Wow. Very interesting. Camille had said something, but she seems to have gone now. The chat.
Well, whatever questions you may
okay.
gather after, you can always, send us.
Right.
You can respond to it via email and you can pass on the information.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Mr. Della Peno. We appreciate all that you've shared with us. And have a great evening. Thank you to all the persons who took the time to be here to this very informative session. And we wish you all a very good evening as well. As soon as information is passed to the administration of the school, we will then pass it on to the parents and the staff of the school.
Yes. And thank you again, everyone. And really enjoyed the presentation and look forward to having, the members to be a part of the NIDS. Thank you again.
Okay, then, Mr. Della Pena.